Begin. So, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sanjeev Jain. I am a part of Enabling World, a boutique HR consulting firm, and I'm your host today for a very exciting session on creating a disability-friendly workplace, which is not a very easy topic, but very critical and very important. So, this week we are celebrating, International Day for People with Disability globally. And I thought it'll be very appropriate topic to choose. Uh, you know, can people go on mute who are not talking? Yes, thank you. So it's a very important, critical topic and a difficult area to be into. Actually, it's not easy. It's not easy in terms of creating a diverse workforce. So we thought it would be very appropriate. So today, let me introduce two experts that we have, and I'm very happy and very honored to have Mr. Rajesh and Mr. Jose with us today to share their expertise in this area. And Rajesh is Senior VP HR with Lemon Tree Hotels. And I personally know this hotel is doing tremendous work in terms of deploying a diverse workforce, especially people with disability. And we would like to learn and hear some inspiring story from them about their organization and otherwise as well. So Rajesh ji, thank you so much for joining. Our honor.
Thank you. My honor. Thank you.
All right. And along with him, we also have Mr. Jose Kurian, who is nothing but an inspiration story, I would say. He himself has an impairment, physical impairment, but he has dedicated his life to the cause of people with disability, and especially in employment, creating education, access to health, different facilities. So he works with, earlier we used to know as Handicap International, but now it is known as Humanities and Inclusion. So his role is very big. He's a regional inclusion technical assistance and specialist. Actually, it's a very long and technical designation. I was struggling a little bit, but he takes care of not only India but Nepal and Sri Lanka as well. So he has a big responsibility. And we all would know this is one of the very old organization which works for the cause of people with disability and doing some true transformational work. So we'll be very thank you very much, sir, for joining. And it's our honor, and we are very eager to hear from you, your inspirational story and the work that you're doing.
Thank you so much. Thank you. My pleasure. Yeah.
All right. So few guidelines, just a points to our audience. Keep it very interactive, and you may use chat to write your comment, question, during the session itself, and we will request our panelists to answer them as we are going through the session, and we'll pick up a few questions as it comes. And while we were, so keep yourself on mute. If you want to keep your video on, you're okay, but keep yourself on mute if you're not, until you're asking a question. That will help the session to go smoothly. That is second. I also want to introduce my colleague and a partner into Enabling World, Sushil Tayal, who is also with us. So he'll also be there with us to provide his expertise during this session as we go along. All right. So just a brief introduction about Enabling World, if we move on, Vijaya. So we are celebrating our 10th year. We are a boutique HR consulting firm with interest into HR technology, leadership talent development, consulting, outsourcing a little bit, and a lot of work on employee well-being we do. That's, in fact, accidentally, we never started this organization with that objective, but gradually, especially in last few years, our focus has become a little more on well-being and D&I. So that's what it is. That's just a brief introduction, and we operate from Delhi, Bangalore, and Chennai. Otherwise, we have presence all across. So that's a very brief introduction. So, when I was going to this topic, and preparing myself, I was looking at some of the information around what's going on. So I think to set the context, all across the world, many of us would definitely know that 1 in 6 person in this world has some kind of disability. 1 in 6. That's a big number. I mean, I was not sure about this actually. In fact, if we look around, and I challenge all of us, if we look around in our family, in close friends, we definitely would have someone with some disability, isn't it? maybe with many of us would have it. So I think it is all around. It's a integral part of our society. That is one. But the sad facts are also that when it comes to employment, they are twice as unlikely to get employed compared to people who do not have disability, right? And not only that, the issues they have, like mental health issues or health issues, physical health issues, they're twice as likely to have those. Their life expectancy is much shorter by, I think, 15, 20 years compared to people who do not have disability. And within that, we do, Rajesh and Jose, a lot of work in diversity, gender diversity. But if the facts are much harder and harsher for women who have disability, actually their employment rates are even less than half of what is there for the uh, less than half of that of the male, right? And I'm sure, Rajesh, you do a lot of work around this. You'll be able to sense. So I think there is something as HR professionals we need to possibly do a little bit more about it. And this topic is geared about not about talking about the problems alone. This session today is more about what is happening, what are the positive things happening around, to give us some hope and some framework, some tips that we can leverage at our respective workplaces, to make it a little better place for people with disability and their inclusion and the respect that they deserve, right? So I think that's the context. With that, I thought let's start with a little poll, with the audience here. So this is a little poll that you can do on Menti. I'm sure many of us would be familiar with that. You can pick up your phone and use the yes. So here is the code. You can use a smartphone and you can scan this, the QR code. It will take you to the voting site. Otherwise, go to www.menti.com, menti.com, which is written, and use the code 4226458 right? So let's take a few seconds and log. And the question that you have to answer, if we can go back to the page, is what are the challenges in hiring people with disability in our respective organizations? What are your challenges? And you can give multiple answers as you wish, right? So let's hear from all of you as we begin. We have started getting some responses. So one is correct. And Rajeshi and Mr. Jose, I'm sure you'll be familiar with this and would like you to possibly comment on, is there any unique thing that you are hearing, or these are typically that you hear and you face in your work that you're doing?
Yeah, I think it looks like it's the mindset, and these all the problems are arriving out of that mindset. Before, whenever you start, what happens in any organization, as soon as you think, okay, we are going to do this. So first thing comes is that not talking about the infrastructure, which is coming quite clearly, that infrastructure adjustment. But I think there are certain kind of a disability in infrastructure is not required at all. Let's say speech and hearing impaired. Issue is the mindset, the top driven mindset. If it is there, it will work. Otherwise, it will not work. So what happens then, as soon as you say, okay, we are going to hire 5, 6 or 10 people as an pilot, first thing, will it be, within my sanction manning, approved budget? Those things comes into play first, because, they are not aware. People are not aware that, these guys are more productive than the abled guy if you train them right and you put them at the right place. So half of the things, when you talk about communication, infrastructure, physical movement, mind of the manager, it is coming there. Okay, someone is writing and they're quite clear that from top driven agenda is we hire. But when it reaches the department head level, he says, no, I have only 10 guys. Out of 10, you are giving me 3. I can't work. So these are the challenges which, we have also faced.
Correct. So mindset issues.
It's a mindset only. Let me tell you, if mindset changes, it's a victory. Whichever, because when we started in 2007 with 5 speech and hearing impaired employees. So, And we tried this in one of the hotel, Gurgaon. So first thing was general manager saying, okay, this is over and above. Manning, I said, you just do it. I will not ask the numbers. Okay, we said, so, first 6 months they enjoyed. And then what we saw that this SHI, we call them as an SHI. SHI is doing in housekeeping, doing more rooms than the abled guy. So then, the one time came after that. Now it's a time that if an SHI housekeeping boy, so they prefer SHI over a abled guy.
They saw the
because
value.
they know that
They saw the value coming. Absolutely. So
Yeah,
I think you're right, Mr. Jose. If you want to comment on the response that you got from people,
I completely agree with Rajesh, but along with that, one more angle I wanted to say here. If you see that accessibility, yes, it is very clear, means the accessibility issue, communication and infrastructure that is there. But again, if you see, most of the thing is something related to knowledge on disability, because it's also, again, when we talk about this inclusion, it is also important to have some sort of knowledge on disability. So if the person can build that capacity, then many of these issues can be solved. And one more catchy word is there. I don't know, maybe I'm sure you all notice policy barriers. So that's for me, I would say that's a very, 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 very important actually policy, because see, the person can come and go. Means today Jose will be there, or tomorrow Jose will not be there, or today Rajesh will be there, tomorrow, who knows? But if there is a kind of a policy in the system, things will go on. So that's what I just want to add on.
So it's a good start. At least we get to know, right, what's going on in the minds of our audience. All right. So first of all, Mr. Jose, as you mentioned, awareness about the disability. Can you unpack in a very simple, maybe 2-3 minutes, about what are different type of disability, right? I'm sure all of us would know a little bit, but maybe our knowledge could be limited in some respect. But can you very simply tell us, disabilities, what kind of disability? Sometimes we say, learning disabilities, physical disabilities, mental, but generally, how do you classify? Just to start with as a knowledge.
Yeah. See, when we talk about type of disability, it's also important. We always need to refer the government guidelines.
Yes.
Because we cannot make our own judgment or anything. So we all know that there is a Disability Act, 1995 Disability Act. So in that it was 5 mainly, and actually it was 7. So physical and hearing impairment, speech and hearing, mental retardation, mental illness, and like that. So when we reviewed, means the government of India reviewed this act in 2016. Now it is called Rights of Persons with Disability Acts, So in that, it is very one good achievement for disability sector. What is happening? From the 7, it became 21. And it's a big number, means most of the, some sort of blood diseases, cancer, acid victims, this kind of everything is they included. And that is a good thing, because before, many of the people were wiped out because it was not included in the benchmark disability. So now many of these things came into the benchmark, and it is 21. I'm not going to the complete list of 21 disability. So it is easily available in the Google, means it is great. So there are 21 type of disability as per the government, these things. And then again, since I said about this benchmark, we need to, maybe we all aware that if I want to known as a person with a disability, I need to have a medical certificate from the recognized board. And then if I want to have access to any rights and entitlements, I need to have minimum 40% disability. So that is only available. But even if it is less than 40% also, person with disability, but I will not have any rights to access any entitlements. So that eligibility is 40%.
So this brings me to one question, Mr. Jose, if I can ask you. is there a is there a spectrum, right, in disability that you can say, because it's so complex, right? uh, the hearing impairment is very different than the autism, right? So is there a spectrum? How do you measure the degree of disablement?
There is. Actually, this medical certificate is given by a board, medical
Okay.
board. And
All
they,
right.
that, and again, it is not available everywhere. Like, for example, you maybe know in Delhi, it is available in Safdarjung and some of the few government hospitals. So like that. So it is a recognized medical board, and they have their own clinical level of grading. And it is based on that only. Ideally, they supposed to give the certificate. But again, we know how, means maybe sometime they will not follow all the guidelines and all the things.
So that's a good information, and I think I can assure some of us may not know completely. Or there's a act, the People with Disability Act, commonly as we call 1995, which gives a lot of knowledge and information about what are the laws governing this, at least, right? And I don't think we have to stop there. I don't think we have to stop there. There are many organizations which are doing much beyond. We don't have to wait for laws to come. I think these are the causes that we should get engaged with, even without the law. But at least, as a society, if there are laws and their execution becomes an issue, that will really further accelerate inclusion of people with, disability into the workforce in particular, because our focus today is more about the workplace. I think let's stay focused on that.
Exactly. And see, the thing is, I just wanted to mention one more thing. These certificate and the percentage of disability, this is mainly connected with the accessing the reservations, accessing the entitlements, this all. But as far as private sector concerned, it is not a kind of a means
binding. It's not obligatory.
It is not obligatory. And again, this thing, and that is why nowadays there is also kind of, because see, there's maybe you heard about Washington group questions, and that Washington group questions, it is like just a kind of a collecting data on disability, and it is it is mainly looking the impairment. For example, there is a one question: if you are wearing glass, still you find difficulty in seeing, or if you, when you climb the steps, will you have any difficulties? It will not go like polio, cerebral palsy, mental retardation, like that. It's something like in general way, and that is what nowadays most of the private sectors employers, companies and all follow. So that maybe some of them, their employers already having these problems. Means they don't know.
They don't call out.
So,
I will ask that question. That's a very interesting question. I will ask you.
Yeah.
And let me. In fact, I remember when I was reading somewhere, I found in certain countries, like in South America, in Brazil in particular, I know there it's by law you need to deploy certain percentage of employees from PWD categories, right? People with disability, you have to have, right? And government gives you a lot of benefits, tax benefits and facilities, etc., right? And one of the company there is Light, which is the electricity provider. Light, that's the name of the organization. And they write whenever they send a bill to the consumers at the back with a wheelchair, and they say, we deploy more people with disability than what is prescribed by law. With pride, they say that. So it becomes a kind of branding issue. Your branding as a good employer, as a noble employer that you want to do, right? So we don't have to wait. So lemon tree is an example. So Rajesh, let me come to you. What are your, because I know, tell us your story, first of all, in brief, right? What is happening at Lemon Tree and how are you able to, do this, which many organizations struggle with, right? In terms of deploying people with a disability. So in 2-3 minutes, because we have follow-up questions, but just in crisp manner, tell us.
So, as I said, I think you heard in the beginning, I said that we started in 2007 with the pilot of 5 speech and hearing impaired. So that time we were not aware that how this project is going to be evolved. In late 2008 or 9, one lady comes with the flower bouquet. I'm telling you how it changes the life of the people and organizational behavior.
Sure.
So she comes and said that I wanted to meet your chairman, Mr. Patu Keswani. It was a small organization. She was crying and she said, because you employed my son, Now he's getting married. I am just thankful to you, and I am inviting
Wow.
you to my son's wedding. So I'm talking about way back 2007, 8, 9. And that was a day he said, boss, we are changing the life of the people. Let's do it in a big manner. And that day we have not, after that, the way we have, ramped up our efforts, especially hiring people with disability. Now it's, currently I think we have 350 speech and hearing impaired in the organization. Pre-COVID, the numbers were 420 to 425 plus. Now, currently, what we have done, then this project evolved. Okay, so 2015 we started. Okay, let's have Down syndrome, autism, and all. So now the problem when it comes to speech and hearing impaired, it is hire and train. Okay, you
Okay.
hire, train these people in 7 days time, and they are fit for running the business. They will be at shop floor. When it comes to Down syndrome, autism, and all, it's train and hire. So there will be a 3 months training. We call these kids because Down syndrome. What happens? They will have a notebook. They will have the batches and all. So let's say, and then we decided. When we talk about, I think in first question you said that what are the barriers. So we have to look at that where this disability person fits in, right? Like speech and hearing impaired, he can work anywhere: housekeeping, bellboy, kitchen stewarding, even a front desk. We have examples that people are doing wonder there. But when it comes to Down syndrome and autism, because they have a limited bandwidth, but they do those things very, very efficiently. Let me tell you the way efficiently they does. Let's say Down syndrome boy, we tell them that you just need to work out a display of the table before lunch. So they know how to do it. There is a stickers, 5 points. Take out a tray, put the plates into that, go fill the water. So these are the sequences we tell, and they do check boxes with everything. So, and now let me tell you the benefit of this. If a abled guy is doing monotonous job every day, no, he get fed up in the times to come. He says, no, yeah, every day I'm doing this, and these kids enjoy it. So different, same assignment. Down syndrome people, because they are ticking the checklist, they are enjoying. Our able guy, same job, he will not enjoy after certain time. So when you talk about positivity, our workflow, you just need to do as adjustment on SOPs, which we have done it. And now that workplace adjustment, whether it's a SOP breakdown or looking at the guy who fits in where well, it's doing wonder.
So you feel it's not only a good thing to do, but you have, as a business, have benefited from this. That's what
Yes.
your net experience is.
So if, let me tell you, when it comes on the business side, the benefit on business, first I'll say benefit for us. We get a bigger talent pool, easily
Correct.
accessible employee, low aspiration, high delivery. In this segment of people, I'm telling, aspirations levels are very low, high deliverable. No one wants to become manager soon. A young guy you bring at an entry level position, after 6 months, what next for me? They will wait for promotion. We promote them also. Then they like when we talk about increased creativity, now we have broken down our even SOPs, saying then we found that these 5 things where there were hiccups, we put a right kind of a process there, and these guys are handling that. Then the pride, if you talk about when we have 300 these people, of 350 these people, other 5,700 are feeling pride that we employ them, and they want to work with Lemon Tree. Okay, and when you talk about engagement scores, these people's and other employees,
Huge
engagement
difference.
scores are very high. Then in this segment, when we talk about attrition at SHI level, or attrition is very minimal. Industry attrition level is 50%, and their attrition is minimal. Either they will leave in first 2-3 months, or they will stick to the company for long.
If you treat them with respect and
yes,
include them, then their
yeah,
retention is likely to be much better.
Yeah, there are so many things happening around. It is not possible that you bring and put them on shop floor. It doesn't happen. So if we have to make them successful, so currently, for example, our probation evaluation form says till the time you clear expression training. Expression means Indian Sign Language. basic course, if you don't clear, you will not be confirmed. So that at least that minimum sign language the person should know if he wants to communicate. We put them into the groups, saying 2 SHIs are there, put 2 more there. So they are all communicating with each other. Manager knows sign language. So it's a culture now.
Great.
In the beginning it was different, difficult also, because changing mindset of every manager was difficult. But now
Great.
it is working.
Great. So thank you for that note, and our congratulations to your organization for doing such wonderful work. And it's amazing. I know it's not easy, but you're not only doing it well, you're doing with pride, and you're reaping business benefits out of it. That's an amazing story.
I just wanted to add a small thing here.
Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah. So apart from the people with disability, now our vision is that to hire 30% of opportunity deprived Indians. So our definition is ODI is little bit larger than the people with disability. We say, okay, anyone like orphan girls in Delhi homes. So what we did, because it's not a disability, but I'm saying that towards society, how we
it's
do
a larger purpose,
larger pool, wherein widows or school dropout, the people those would have not been employed otherwise, we are employing them. So these girls from Delhi homes, we did a first project in 2018. We hired 25 girls at the age of 17 from these homes as an apprentices, trained them and then hired them. This year again 20 girls, next project, they are working here in AeroCity, all orphans. So some of them got married also. So how the life changes. The girl whose orphan was staying in Delhi homes came, joined here, got trained, and now they are earning their livelihood with dignity.
Great. So I think my big clap and congratulations to you. It's an amazing story, very, very inspiring. Thank you so much. Mr. Jose, coming to you, because you're working more in the community, right? The biggest problem that possibly could be, one is what the organizations will keep the workplace, which is accessible, inclusive, sensitized managers. But I think the biggest problem can also be, even before they reach that stage, how do we prepare them, right? So what I want to know, what is happening around in the industry, in the community, which is about the preparing them, education, special training if it is needed, right? Creating special employment exchanges. Can you tell us in crisp manner, what's happening around this?
Yes. There are special employment exchanges for persons with disabilities, and there are vocational training institutes in all over. And more than that, very recently, this NSDC, you may be heard about that. NSDC is also having a separate sector council for persons with a disability, and they developed a lot of training programs, skill developments. It's a part of skill development. Okay. And there are a lot of trades and sectors, they support other NGO grassroots level organizations to identify the people with disabilities, train them, 2 months, 3 months course, and preparing them, and plus grooming them. And so there are a lot of mechanisms. That is one aspect from the government side. And also there are many agencies working on these employment for people with disabilities. And so many NGOs are there from South India, North India, everywhere. So they also have a big database. They conduct different training programs, skill development program for people with disability. So this is the second aspect. Now, third point, there is also kind of an apprenticeship program, which is kind of a very effective actually, because see, there was Rajesh ji was talking about hire and train and hire, this thing. So now the problem is, everybody is interested on this inclusion, but still there is a kind of a fear. So when I can tell my example, when I was working with one of the main company, Michelin. So Michelin India, it's a manufacturing company, tire manufacturing.
Yes, the tires, correct, Michelin.
There is a lot of process like big machineries, these all the things, and big factory actually. It's in the Chennai outskirts. And the first question we were facing is safety versus disability, because they don't want to have any kind of compromise on this safety. And it took little time to convince them, like how accommodations facilities, accessibility facilities, we can manage the safety. And again, in this case also, I completely agree, we cannot compromise safety, because even if it is a person with a disability, it's a human. So we cannot compromise that one. So we have to see, and there is a lot of mechanism, means ergonomic standards. These all the things are there. So there are solutions. So this apprenticeship program will support the employer a kind of a big role, because they will hire as a trainees, they will try, means, and at the end of 3 months or 4 months or 6 months, they will exactly come to know what is the person's skill set, where he can be placed, what kind of accommodation requirement is there for him. I mean, reasonable accommodation. Okay. So what kind of accessibility features he required. So this apprenticeship program is another aspect. So like that, there are a lot of possibilities, Sanjeevji, and it is not a big issue. And that is one thing. And there are also some universities and colleges giving a different trainings, different courses. People with disabilities are joining in that course. They are coming out. For example, in Chennai, there is a Satyabama Institute. Satyabama is mainly for deaf people. And there are a lot of graduates coming out there. The only thing is, for example, if I am an employer, I really want to recruit people with disability. The question is how I am communicating to the community or to the people that thing. Are we really following the traditional, typical way of advertisement in our recruitment methodology? Sometime we will post in some platforms which is not accessible for persons with disability, so the information will not reach. Sometime it will be in our own website, and which is two things. Maybe many of the people with disabilities not aware about this, or that website may not be accessible. For people with disability. So it is also important to come out from the frame, like to reach more people, to explore who are the different stakeholders in this sector, who are the agencies can support in terms of sourcing the candidates, in terms of providing some training programs. So these all, and in terms of supporting on accessibility issues. So these all are related. So what I want to say means inclusion is not just a kind of a placing and providing few trainings. We need to go like in a kind of a systematic approach. Yes.
All right.
I hope
so
I
there
answered.
Is no, very well, and very huge learning. And I think it's you brought a very important point that sometimes if we just reach out in our traditional way, and some of these opportunities may not even reach people, right? And the way you write the advertisement, is it, your website is accessible, first of all, for people, right? First of all. So Rajeshji, since you are, quite successful, I would say, in doing this, what are some very quick 2-3 tips to us from the HR community that most of us are from, or business, that will help us reach our opportunities to people who really deserve this, people with a disability? What are some tips?
What happens in this front? Majority of the people when you hire, so many NGOs, like Ms. Jose said, the NGOs are helping this cause in a big manner. Okay. So what happens initially, right, that hiring people with disability is difficult, but when what happens, these kids are not, like, they are not at their homes, either they have joined some NGO, they are getting trained somewhere. So the group of the people, and there are some centers also, you get a database from there. Government, the local state government have a disability cells. You get CVs from CVs, need their name, details, disability, phone numbers from there. Local NGOs gets, but that you have to reach out to them. In our case, what has happened that, these people comes in groups, so, and they know others. So now it's word of mouth for us. So people are approaching us rather than we approach them. So we are getting easily. We tell one NGO saying we need to hire 50 guys. So they line up the people. They line up the people because now it has changed. For the person who's starting, he has to go through some NGOs first. Let's say for people with disability, if it is speech and hearing impaired, tie up with one NGO, do a pilot, you hire 10 people from them. Those 10 will bring other 100, under 50. Okay, intellectual also same. Down syndrome people, they are getting trained under, let's say, one NGO. You are hiring them, training them. Parents of others reaches to that NGO. So those NGOs are helping them to bring them to us. So this is
So
how.
I have a question to you. I marked you made a statement that people with disability have low aspiration. They don't leave. Our retention rate is high, kind of
Yeah.
thing. While it is good, but there's a problem, right? And I want to pose this problem to you: is that in my experience, I have a lot of people that I have closely worked with. I was in IBM, and there were many people. IBM is another, organization, may not be at the level that you are doing, but deploying worldwide. A lot of people with disability, and they have created a great, inclusive, accessible workplace, right? Now, one of the problem that these colleagues, this talent says, sometimes people start appreciating us for just ordinary thing, and actually that's the biggest problem people face. They said, no, we can do similar what other people can do in the given role, right? And sometimes expecting too low from them, or appreciating or congratulating them for something very ordinary, actually does disservice, right? How do you tackle that part?
No, I think first of all, in Lemon Tree, it's kind of we from beginning it's a equal opportunity employee. When we say it's a part of your sanction manning, means you have 15 manning budgeted, so 15 are part. These if 5-6 are a part of that. That is one. Entry level salary, if person able guy is getting X, so disabled is also getting X. Okay. In terms of career opportunity, there's a performance management system in place. Here I can proudly say that you will find minimum, I think majority of the people in a supervisory level also, but they're handling their set of people also. Sometimes they're handling even abled guys in housekeeping. I have a person who's even dealing with the abled housekeeping room boys and getting the rooms done. So aspiration levels are there, and I think I may need to correct this. Aspiration levels are different, disabilities are different. Okay, a orthopedical guy can reach to a CEO, but a speech and hearing impaired guy can reach to a department head level, or a Down syndrome boy can reach to a, because their lifespan is also
So,
smaller.
so they're more realistic. They're more realistic, I would say, right?
I'm just saying realistic approach. So
Correct.
it's not that, and people will get opportunities to grow in their domain for sure, and they are competing with the able. It is not that, okay, we are appreciating. You will find the kind of when you enter to a restaurant, you will find guy serving, he's coming asking for water and all. It's equivalent to able guy, but I think guest delight is more than the able guy serves.
In fact, in one of the report in the WHO says almost, and please mark my word, almost every job on this earth can be done by someone who has some disability, right?
Yes.
It's a question of aligning the role with the capability of the person. Second,
Yes.
one, and second is also making some workplace adjustments,
Right.
reasonable adjustments, as we say, workplace modifications in terms of making it accessible and making some reasonable adjustment. Mr. Jose, coming to you, there's a term called reasonable adjustment, right? And it is a little fuzzy, right? I mean, if you tell manager, okay, have reasonable adjustment, he says, hey, others are performing, what should I adjust, kind of thing. Can you unpack this for us? What is this reasonable adjustment, and how should we as HR and managers or leaders sensitize our workforce on this? And it's not a pity we are doing, right? It's not something we are expecting something low from them, but can you help us with understanding this term, reasonable adjustment?
Yeah, definitely. And just before that, one comment I want to add at the previous point, that inclusion, inclusion starts right from the JD development. Okay. When we develop the JD, we have to consider this inclusion in our mind. Like, for example, if this job is going to give for a person with a disability, what would be the essential skill? What would be the marginal skills, okay, in this particular role? And then no means then it will come, and then we can see again there is a before that there is a job analysis, job coaching. So there is a lot of things. It's again, inclusion is not like starting from the recruitment. Before that it will start.
Before that.
So now
That's
come
a good
back
point.
to this. Come back to this reasonable accommodation. Sometimes reasonable adjustment, sometimes reasonable accommodation, sometimes reasonable adaptation. There are a lot of all matter of terminologies. So these will, but this is really a very important, and this create a barrier-free work environment for persons with disability, because every person, every individual person with disabilities, means we will not get a kind of a similarity. And when he comes to the workplace, then only he can tell that to perform my task, what extra modification, what extra adjustment I need. Rajesh ji already told or talked about the sign language, learning sign language. It's a reasonable accommodation. And some employers will give some sort of flexi working hours, because a person with using wheelchair, he may take little time. Maybe he will not be able to reach to the office exactly on 9 o'clock and punching. He may need at least 10-15 minutes, but he can continue that one in the evening. So that's a reasonable accommodation. And maybe when he stand and doing, or he is working in some place, work station, some sort of modification we need to do, the switchboard, the plugs bringing near to him. So
Correct.
that's there are a lot of, means depends what person require. So there is a big role for HR team in this, because we all know that before it was known as HR was known as a department or administration, these all. But now they are known as a partner, They are known as a partners, So for employers, so they will be spending more time. So they will understand what barriers limiting for this person to perform his whatever the daily routine. And then software, another, I'm sure there will be a lot of IT people in this group. So there are a lot of some software, screen reading format, sign language interpretation. Okay, so these kind of small things, yes, I completely understand and agree also. There is a little investment need, but that investment
which is worthwhile,
and you will get a lot of return from that. And I wanted to connect with what are the advantages. One question is there in the chat box. What are the advantages? Why we want to recruit persons with disability? So there are a lot of studies coming out. Number one is like attrition rate is very low, because we all know that persons with a disability, at least in India, it's not easy to get a job because of his impairment, not because of his skill set or anything, because people are not kind of fully willing to recruit. So once that person comes, getting into that job means he had overcome a lot of challenges and he is coming. And it is not, if he thinks in a good way, he will not go back, because until unless he will get a very good opportunity. So that I would say. And another thing is for companies, it's also company's image, company's branding, company's image. These all will go up. And there are also definitely from government side a lot of incentives on PF and some other training support. These all incentives are there from government side.
Perfect. Like so that. I was hearing a very direct comment from Kavita, Gauri. She's from Deloitte and my ex-colleague in HCL. So she was making comments. So Gauri, would you like to share with what's happening in Deloitte? What are you doing? If you can unmute and maybe put on camera as you feel comfortable. Why don't you share?
Yeah, while I don't represent Deloitte on this forum.
Yes, but, this is your personal view.
It's my personal
we record it.
Yes.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah. So I think Deloitte and otherwise, like I heard earlier in the forum, there's a lot of sensitization that is required around what it is to hire. When I attended myself some of the sensitization programs and workshops, some of these myths, very very common myths get broken. We closely work with Enable India, across the board, and continue to hire very capable people, differently abled. I think each one of us is differently abled in our own ways, and it is about understanding that, that which is, when we look at people with disability, it's obvious to us because of, when we see, and from an appearance perspective, but each one of us don't appear as, having our own disabilities, but we have our own. And I think it is about appreciating the differences and being able to understand the strengths that each one of us and
Unique is unique. So
that,
you run
that
very
is,
special sensitization programs for employees and managers, and
yes,
that you've seen
yes,
helping
across the board. And
across the
there are
board.
champions, and at the highest level there are commitments on how. So it is driven not just top down and all that. It's about the culture change that I heard earlier from Mr. Rajesh as well. So it's a lot about sensitizing people around. And I have personally experienced of when we hired people with disability in our teams, that the entire team becomes much more a sense of gratitude, sense of
Empathy, maybe
yes,
empathy.
and which is very, very, very much, we realized more so after, from COVID and other times. So
Thank you. Sorry to put you on spot, but I could not
Yes.
resist when you're giving my sharing a direct comment. I said, why not share some good work, great work that you're doing? Absolutely. Thanks for sharing that. And she's a very senior business leader, right? And these are her personal views on record.
thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, Rajeshji, one question to you. How's, in your view, technology? Because in IBM, at least I have seen how, because I have a colleague who is in HR. For a long time, I did not even know that person is partial blindness, almost blindness. I mean, the visibility is very, very poor. I mean, near complete blindness. And the person works just like anyone else, right? I won't name the person, but very dear colleague of mine. For a very long time, I did not even know, because company had provided him the tools and technologies where he could use, the laptops similar to what anyone else could use, something like that. So can you give some tips on how technology is helping in creating the workplace accessible for people with very different diversities, different capabilities?
So, if you talk about hotels, there are certain set roles. And based on those roles, if we have to develop something, or if we have developed something, those are the training modules. So what we did an adjustment, I'm telling you, where we use technology, not at that level, but, we created a tool, or you can say training modules, which is V101. So 101 is a model where when new hire comes, so we train people by showing some videos and all, how people work at workplace. So similarly, we did the V101. We got a presidential award also in 2016 on that module for hiring speech and hearing impaired. So there is a video, and that is, kind of a sign language and all. So, when SHI comes, so V101 models, we train them. That technology is helping us because, either I need a sign language interpreter immediately, so that module will run, they understand what to do, and it is helping us. So training a guy second day on shop floor. So, and for Down syndrome and all, we could not use technology as of now. There was a low kind of vision impairment guy. He was using his own software for his laptop. So we could not, I have not worked on any other tool apart from this V101, which we have developed in-house.
Okay. In fact, I'll tell you my own learning. We were running a training program for a global firm, right? And it was on a cross-culture sensitization. And there were people from US, UK, India, Philippines, all across. And one lady pinged me, Kati Sanjeev, can you enable the caption, the closed caption option in the Zoom? And let me confess, I was not aware of how do you do that, because I was not conscious about it. From that day onwards, I realized that there could be people with hearing disability who can't hear what's going on. So it's a good idea to summarize the conclusion of the meeting, short notes, and then or keeping the closed caption option on in any virtual meeting that we do, so that they can read what is going on, what Rajesh is talking, what Jose is talking. So we all have our own learning. And I think if we are intentional about it, right, and if organizations can become very intentional in sensitizing people and managers, then we can make it absolutely a better place for our colleagues, for the great talent that we have, which goes unutilized in the industry. Right now, we are
Yeah,
close to
can I just comment one point?
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Like when we are talking about this closed caption, this accessibility and all, it is also something related to the right, means right to information. Okay.
Mhm.
So means again, it's a person's, for example, if there is an ATM, that ATM is for all to draw money. And if that ATM is not accessible for one group, that means it's a violation of rights, human rights. So it is also responsibility of the bank people to make that ATM accessible, like audio and physical infrastructure accessibility. And most of the ATM we can see it is in the upstairs. We will see there are 2-3 steps. So it's also like if we are organizing
Hello,
a kind of
Santoshi. Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon, sir.
Some excitement going on in parallel. He forgot to unmute.
So
That's
if we are organizing an event for a public, and if you are expecting a person with the disability, and see, here is the things it is our society's responsibility to provide accessibility. It is like employer's responsibility. When we say we are an equal opportunity employer, then it is also our responsibility to provide accessibility, reasonable accommodation, these all the things.
Okay, so
But
Rajesh, yes.
Yeah.
Please go ahead. Sorry, please complete.
No. I just wanted to make that comment. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you very much. So Rajesh, there's a comment from Kavita that how do colleagues treat people with disability? Are they mocked at, etc.? I mean, I don't think so, but still, what's your candid experience?
It is organization culture. It may happen where it's a one disabled guy have come and someone mocks. That doesn't happen nowhere. Although I can take guarantee of our organization, even people feel pride, they help them to settle. And when people joins in groups, because it's not a one odd guy is working, there are 4 or 5 guys working in 2 departments, 3 departments, they go together, they have meals together, then others are trained and sensitized to behave with them. And half of the other team members also, they are, because they know how to behave, how to tell, because they need also to communicate with them. So I have never found anything like this, that someone is mocking, and that doesn't.
And if someone is doing, I think we should politely, as colleagues, I mean, it is not only the responsibility of the manager. We all, wherever we see such thing happening in society, we should politely go and correct the person that, hey, that's not on at all. I think it is our own disability, I would say, mental or attitudinal disability, that we treat someone like that. Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. All right. So before we close, there is a small announcement I wanted to make. Vijay, if you can share the slide. But this is very interesting discussion, and I think I am much more inspired and hopeful of what can be done on this. But before we come to the end, and I have a couple of questions. I wanted to share with all that as enabling world, we do work in D&I space, and we do have certain initiatives in PWD area as well, how to create an organization which is more inclusive for people with disability. Right? Anyone who's interested, there is a link in the chat that you can leverage. That's a small announcement I wanted to make. Now you can stop sharing, Vijay. Now, if you have to give one message, Rajesh, to people with disability and who are in the workforce or who are not in workforce, who are trying, right? Can you give one message in maybe short sentence?
So I think if lemon tree is accessible, I'll say and anyone wants to come, please call me directly, their parents, their colleagues, their friends, just call me directly. We'll make sure that, if you're trying for a job, you will get it, because it's ability, not a disability. And we are here to welcome you. That's what my one line message, wherever they are.
Wow, that's amazing. That's an open invitation, and it can't be as generous as beyond this. So thank you so much, Rajesh. And I know you really mean it when you're saying this. Mr. Jose, if I have to ask you to give maybe one message to this HR community, because you are a specialist in this field and you experience it personally also, and you have a huge experience across countries. If there is one message you have to give us to people in HR community or business leaders, whosoever is there in this call, what would that be?
Yeah, for me, I would convey a message to HR community that when you do the recruitment process, please offer reasonable accommodation facilities. If you require any kind of facilities in the interview, we are ready to offer that. Because why? It's a very simple things, but no, when I see this advertisement, I will feel as a person with a disability, I'll feel a confidence. Okay, I can approach to this employer. There is something, they are offering something for me extra. So I can, because most of the time people with disabilities feel that how I will go to that company, whether I will be able to work there, will they have accessibility features like that. So please offer, like, no, you can mention one line in your advertisement. This is
That's a great thought.
Commitment of expression. And once it comes shortlisted, then definitely you can ask what kind of accommodation we can offer you.
Wonderful.
I want to add for HR managers one small this thing,
yes,
if you are hearing. So we all are torchbearer of inclusivity. We have to lead with example. And don't look at that what is in it for me. Look at what is in it for others, and let's do it together. That's the mantra. Forget about numbers, forget about budget, forget about all the things. You have to drive it and will win.
Great. So that's a very inspiring message. So Vijaya, so I think thank you very much for audience. We are coming to the close, and I promise we'll close sharp at 4. But there'll be a small survey, that will be on your screen. Candidly rate, how did you like this conversation? It'll help us improve the bringing different topics to you and talking about it. And I can't thank both of you enough. It's a very difficult area. I learned a lot here, Rajeshji and Mr. Jose, and from the audience as well. Amazing audience, because there was so much going on. Actually, a parallel session was going on practically. But I think net, the message here that I'm going back with of optimism. There is a sad fact that the employment rate is poor. The way they are treated is poor. But I think there are ways out. There are some shining examples, Lemon Tree and many other organizations that Deloitte is doing, IBM is doing, many other organizations are doing. I can't name all. Let's pick up one. And as HR, all of us, as the message, Rajesh, that I'm noting down from you is, we are torchbearers. Let's pick up this agenda and do our bit in terms of sensitizing people in the workforce and creating an employment. And Joshi, I liked, your suggestion on reasonable adjustment, unpacking it, what disabilities, and also it starts right from beginning, writing the JD, the inclusivity is right start there, right? And I can tell you, most of us miss it many a times, right? And I'm assuring you on behalf of all of us that we'll be very sensitive to this and include this in our JDs when we publicize the post in our website so that they are accessible to the people with disability. So on that note, let's close the session. And thank you everyone for joining in. And we'll talk again soon with you very shortly. So it was an amazing learning session for me as well. I enjoyed. Thank you so much. Thank you, audience.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.